Andrew, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, cool, thanks.
Great stuff.
So, this is our Porsche engine.
Yep.
Can we take a look inside?
Of course we can.
Have you seen anything so far?
Yeah, rocker shaft, it's had some machine work and welding done in the past.
Oh, right, okay, so this is the shaft that the rockers which operate the valves swivel on, and so that isn't actually sitting correctly in there.
No, it looks like it's had some damage before and been machined in.
So actually that could be quite a lot out of line. In fact, it is out of line. It's not central on the top of the valve stem.
No.
So we've already got some problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's take it apart and have a closer look.
Go on then. So Andrew, I mean, basically, I'm looking at this. Now, this is a flat floor engine,
Yeah.
a little bit like a VW Beetle.
Yeah, air cooled.
So these engines are VW derived originally, but over the years they were developed by Porsche to provide more and more power.
Yeah, for a sportier engine, for a sports car.
So this is the 356C, so this is quite a late engine.
Yeah. We'll get the push rods out next.
Yeah. We say it's a late engine, let's hope it's not late as in dead. Okay, so this is a push rod. It's a push rod operated engine, so the valves are operated by this push rod. At the bottom here you have a little bucket that runs on the camshaft that's at the bottom end here, which then swivels the rocker arm on the rocker shaft, and they in turn open and close the valves. So this little heel here operates directly onto the top of the valve stem. A lot of older engines operated using push rods. Let's see how good it is inside. Okay, so we've got to get the
Rocker posts off next.
yeah. So these are the posts that the rocker shafts sit in. So you can see that where Porsche have really taken this engine and developed it, where the rocker shafts sit, this is a lot posher than your VW Beetle.
Yeah.
But here we can see that poor makeshift repair, and it's not even actually
Smooth.
semicircular. So the rocker shaft is just going to sit out of line in there.
Yeah, uneven.
So it will never run perfectly. That's one job we've got to do.
Yep.
Okay, so what's next?
Get the cylinder head off, have a look at the wear and tear of the bores, see if the valve seats are seating right, and go from there.
Okay, so the cylinder head is attached using these bolts here, which are all hex head. You reckon we're going to need the big boy?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I'll hold the
Go
engine.
brutal.
I've got to say, I've never seen one of these earlier Porsche four-cylinder engines out on the bench. So actually, these are nuts onto studs.
Yeah,
That's an unusual little setup, actually, isn't it? Look at that, that's kind of a crazy design. There's a lot that goes into these engines. I've been accused of saying that these are just a bit of a souped-up Beetle, but actually, there's a lot more to them than that.
Just got to be careful with the push rods and all that.
Right, so here we go. So one cylinder head off. Just make sure we don't lose all the tubes for the push rods. There we go. Right, what have we got? Well, looking at the valves, so I can see that the valves appear to be sitting cleanly in there, and I can't see any little burnt out marks.
One other sign, you can see where it's been blown, hasn't been sealing properly at the top of the barrel liner.
Oh right, yeah, okay, so that sooty mark there is where the exhaust gases have been leaking out.
Yeah.
So that would have been down on compression.
Down on compression, down on power.
So this engine wasn't running right anyway
No.
last time it was in use. So that's two things we've found.
Yeah, well overdue a rebuild.
Yeah. And looking at some of these washers here, I can see that there's been a bit of make, do and mend by the looks of things. I don't think these are Porsche original washers anyway.
No.
There's some little homemade washers that have been made to fit under the cylinder head nuts.
Should we take these push rod tubes off?
Yep, go on then. So there we go. So those are the tubes in which the push rods operate.
I don't know if it's worth
There's one that's a bit flattened there.
Yeah, you can say they usually get a
Yeah.
beating.
Yeah,
That's just general wear and tear and abuse over the years.
yeah,
More than likely poor fitting, there's just a round shape going to a hole.
yeah. So they've actually turned a round peg into a square one almost. That's not good. That's not going to seal properly either.
No.
So it probably had loads of oil leaks as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, although it doesn't show it down there, does it? But so these barrels are actually the cylinders. So the pistons go up and down in these cylinders. So what we're looking for here is at the top to see if there are any ridges, any wear ridges where the piston rings have worn away and where the engine's just got old and tired. And I can actually feel quite easily with my fingers quite a lot of wear in these barrels. Especially at the top. Yeah.
A good step there.
This step here is where the piston rings have been going up and down in the barrel. What they've done gradually is worn away the metal of the cylinder wall, which means that the piston rings are going to seal less well. So if they seal less well, then gas can escape past them, oil can pass up through them. So you get a combination of a smoky engine and also you're down on power.
And we've also noticed we've got surface rust, which wouldn't help on the cylinder wall.
So if we've got surface rust in there, that's an uneven surface. So again, that's not serviceable at all.
No.
Right, okay. So shall we get these barrels off? Will they come?
Hopefully.
Ah, yeah, okay. Here we go. There we have our barrels. And at the bottom, we got this sealing ring here, which helps to keep the oil inside the engine. So what we don't want is a leaky engine. That's our barrel off. Now, the great thing about these Porsche engines is that you can just replace the barrel. So we'll have a look to see how much wear there is in there, I guess. But if we do have to machine these, then the likelihood is, of course, we're going to have to...
New rings, new pistons.
New rings and new pistons. So actually, there's not a lot of this engine that's going to go back. Not on the top end anyway. So let's just take a little look. So I'm going to turn this. Can you just hold those pistons while I... So there's our two pistons. At the skirt here, I can see there are little linear grooves in there, which shows that the piston has been slapping from side to side a little bit.
Signs of wear, signs of use.
So the wear in the barrel has allowed the piston to move slightly up and down, side to side, which will eventually accentuate the wear throughout the whole of the cylinder and on the piston as well. So, by the looks of things, new pistons,
new barrels,
yeah,
new rings,
yeah.
start fresh.
Right, we're getting to the point at which we can split the crankcase on this engine. We'll be able to take a look inside. It splits straight along here, straight down there, and should come apart neatly in two pieces. That's if we've got everything out that we're supposed to have out. I can't see anything that's going to stop it, so we're going to use our leather-faced hammer, a hide hammer. I'm sure there's some Porsche specialists going, no, now at this point. Let's try levering it a little bit. Now, I don't want to damage the crankcase at all, because if we damage it, then it will never seal properly. So we're just pushing gently now. A little bit at the top. Okay, we're going. That's it. It's going. Okay. There's our crankcase separated. So here are the main bearing journals, which are basically straight along the axis of the crankshaft. Now, we'd ideally like to see a nice even luster on here, but actually you can see little bits of score marks in there. Heavy scoring is bad, because that means there's been some grit and dirt that's worn away in there. So the journals may actually be okay. However, looking at the bearings, they're telling a completely different story. The bearings are really badly worn. A bearing is the running surface between two components, in this case between the crankshaft and the crankcase. But it needs to be lubricated so that it doesn't just wear straight against the bearing. So it's lubricated by a film of oil, which provides a cushion, which means that in service, the crankshaft shouldn't actually touch the bearing surface at all. But when the engine starts up, there's no oil pressure, so it does actually wear against the bearing shell. So gradually, that bearing shell gets worn, and as it gets worn, the oil pressure between the bearing shell and the crankshaft journal starts to diminish. And so as it lowers, it means that you get more metal-to-metal contact because the pressure isn't high enough. And as that happens, that exacerbates the wear, and gradually you get the knocking and rumbling sound of main bearings gone. Now in this case, we're just at the point where this is getting towards a catastrophic failure. Right then, Andrew, let's have a look at one of the big ends. The big ends are the bearing that's on the crankshaft is at the bottom of the connecting rod. So the piston is at the top of the connecting rod. I reckon we're going to find a bit more wear here. What do you reckon?
Normally, yeah.
Okay. Is that loose enough to go by finger?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. We've chosen this connecting rod because it's right at the flywheel end of the crankshaft. Okay, let's give it a little tap. We're always using a soft-faced hammer because we don't want to damage any of these delicate engine parts. Okay, so what have we got?
Found a bit of dirt. It's had a bit of dirt go through it.
You can see lots of little flecks of metal worn off various bits of this engine. They've got into the oil and they have embedded into the soft metal of this plain bearing shell. So these bearing shells are completely unserviceable. Same with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A matching pair.
Yeah. The deeper and deeper we've gone into this engine, the more work we've found that needs doing. When's it going to stop with this car? Come on, give us a break.